Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. I just want to go into a little flow and perhaps a little energy update. We'll see where we're guided to go. So this is meant to be felt, not necessarily understood on a linear basis, although I will probably share a lot more just messages that are wordplay and potentially some light language. And as we allow ourselves to stream, to increase our stream, to steadily increase our stream, to put our toes in the stream of interconnectivity of a higher frequency, we allow ourselves to stream with more efficiency. We allow ourselves to stream with an efficiently woven web, our own creative source, our own inner net. And we allow ourselves to resource more of our own inner technology. We allow ourselves to tune into and through the technology that we, you, me, are all connected to and through. We are all woven into this plasma wave font of signature, of frequency, of light, interacting with one another, interacting with our, I'm hearing resource, the source, the spirit that moves in all things, the force. And so as we allow ourselves to be with, be one with this force, we move as a force. And we begin to see the differences start to shift and change as we utilize this frequency exchange. For many of us have up-leveled, we might call it. And in this new leveling up, we have reached a level of maturity. We have reached a level of signature differentiation. And this is a play on words. I'll have to go back in. This has to do with physics. It has to do with electrical stimulation. It has to do with a lot of things. We begin to interact in this new level. And this new level has yet to be fully explored. For we are the explorers. We are on this edge, if you will, of awareness. And we are starting to, I'm seeing again the stream, dip our toes in the stream more frequently. And so while this message plays with words, the words are a technology, the words are a resource in which our own inner technology, inner tunology then tunes into and receives the information in a much more stimulating format. And so we are able to then format the lettering, the font, the signature, the frequency, and we then up level in our own inner awareness of how this communication and language has much more diversity than we previously gave, I'm hearing accredited it to, gave ourselves credit to. We are recognizing that how we communicate with the world around us, meaning the seen and unseen, is much more advanced than in previous eras. And so we are looking to the future, one might say, yet there are many who are becoming lost along the way. They are stuck in the way of their own future. They are stuck in the way of the wave. They're holding up the line, one might say. And from another perspective, there are no mistakes. Therefore, those that are holding up the line are merely creating a knot, you might say, in their own wave. And this may bring them certain advantageous learning opportunities and potentials that perhaps gives them the chance to untangle the knot, learn how to untangle the knot, and sit with that for a minute before jumping to the future, because for some, they are not ready to fully incorporate encompass all that they are, because there are some aspects of themselves that they still wish to explore from a multidimensional level, or some aspects that they are afraid to explore more of. Therefore, they create these own knots that then keep them, hold them in a particular order. I'm seeing a line, and I'm seeing like a turnstile when you have to go through a line and it turns and you might get stuck. So you have to go back and figure out why it's stuck before you can go on to the next level. But the levels that we are tuning into right now are vast and many. It is a wide array, one might say, that allows a quantum technology to become land-based. And this is a play on words, for we are the quantum technology. We are the ones that have landed, and we are creating, I'm hearing more land from one perspective, for we are unifying in a brand new directive. We are unifying in a new way, or we are directing our resources in a new way, or we are leading by direction. And this is all a play on words. I'm seeing by as in by location, two directions. I'm seeing when you have a direction, you're focusing on that area. There's so much that's coming in. I'll have to go back and play with this. And so while this particular, I'm being shown electricity, and I'm going to talk about conduit, because we're all conduits. And so while this particular conduit, me, streams through this information, or streams through this technology, this is a play on words, streams through this information in this way, it holds a conformity, or a form of communication that confirms the words in such a way that allows for confirmation. So there's lots of plays on words. Like when I say the words, it helps to better understand how they fit together. And it essentially brings it into this reality, for I'm speaking the words that are maybe floating around in the ethers or floating around in multidimensionality, and it brings it into this reality. So we are creating a direction with the particular tones and languages that we are using in order to informationally bring through information. Play on words. We are gathering our resources, for the way that I am speaking in this now moment is bringing through a collective of energy that I am connected to in all different areas. And I say we sometimes because it is a collective of we in the sea, in this ocean of many frequencies and energies that are all working together from one perspective in order to create more land. And this is a play on words, and this eventually will come to a better understanding of what this means. But for this now moment, let us focus on the communication, and let us focus on the technology at hand. For our human body is capable of a vast array of scientific magic, musical performances, one might say, for we are creating a hum, a harmony, a tone in the human, in the human. And this creates a dynamic exchange with the woven fabric, or the fabric that we are weaving in this wave-like, plasma-like medium that we are all poured into. Not only the skin suit technology, but also the fluid reality that we are actually moving through. For we compare this, the air, this to the ocean in some ways, for it is merely a different substance. It is merely a different substance, so it carries waves in a different fashion than perhaps the energy that is underwater. Yet it is also a similar fashion, for it does carry out and have a ripple in the energy that we are all connected through. Again, medium, the medium through the I could go into so many different places. So we're inviting all those who are ready to exchange information in a more fluid way to step up to the plate and play. This will look very different for each unique individual aspect in the overall ratio. Play on words. This will look individual for the collective. Each person that makes up the collective has a part to play in this dynamic exchange and interweaving of potentials and capabilities. For the capacity, I just wrote about this, the capacity for carrying a higher capacitance, play on words, allows us to map out our future in a much more dynamic and fluid way. For as we play, and as we play with this fluid dynamic, we become more dynamic in the access that we have to the fluid. I'm being called to stop just for a moment. This has to do with, obviously, with fluid dynamics. It has to do with capacitance, which is the electrical signaling in the body, but this also has to do with the body. So we're playing with the fluid, literally our cerebral spinal fluid, the fluids in the brain. We're moving in a pattern that's much more fluid, and we are essentially sending out a signal in the fluid, because this oxygen that's around us is a molecule, from one perspective, an element, we'll say. And these elements are part of what carries out our signal, is what I'm being shown. And while this may seem confusing and certainly unsimplified, we assure you that it is highly simple. It is highly simplistic. It is simple science, for how we operate within this new reality structure has shifted. And so our understanding of how this works too, or must also shift. So we are being invited to be fluid with this, and to allow the components that are still are dropping in or have yet to be accessed to be fulfilled. And so the more joy and bliss we bring to the table, the more fulfilled we feel. Therefore, the more resonance, the higher frequency, the higher amount of time, the higher frequency we have to play within this fluidity. And therefore, the more we access this deep desire for unity. And this is all could be interchanged and interwoven in a different way and play with words, because how we interact with our technology is giving us an advantage. We feel that we must turn to an outside source, such as artificiality, in order to enhance our reality, in order to enhance how it is that we interact or play with material reality in this way. Yet we are really being called to access our own resource, our own inner intelligence, our own inner organic intelligence, our own innate intelligence. And as we create this, or create from this, or bind with this, so I'm seeing DNA, and I'm seeing proteins, and I'm seeing building blocks, like stacking like Legos. And this is not only building our reality, but it's also building up our bodies, our ability to ascertain certain information that we may not have been able to understand before, to come across, this is a play on words, we come across with more information. And information is also right now used interchangeably in this particular play on words with charge. We begin to increase our charge, and therefore we send out more carrier signals, or we carry more signals with our charge. So we step up, we carry these signals, and we then exchange them with our fellow humans through interacting, through conversation, through eye contact, through touch, through videos like this, through writing, through dance, through science, through mathematics, teaching, all of it. It's in everything. It then permeates, this is also play on words, it permeates our mechanics. It permeates our brain waves, or our brain waves become more permeable. There's a play on words with this too. This is a physical representation of what is happening at a quantum scale. For as your cells begin to communicate with each other in a completely different collaboration, oh, I'm seeing that's a play on words too. Celebration, joy, victory, play. The cellular memories that have been isolated, that have been held within a cell, one might say, are now coming out to play. They are liberated from one perspective and are able to access whatever it was that they had been held back from. And we invite you to play with this, for as within, so without. We are being liberated from one perspective, from what it was that we were being held back from, or what it was that we were afraid to become, or what it was that we were not playing with, for we were afraid that we would not be worthy of this particular frequency. And this may have been at a subconscious level, or it may have been subliminally dictated to us over the course of our lifetime through patterning and certain elements of brain scattering that have been pumped into this medium or fluid that we all exist within. And yet this no longer is necessarily appropriate to say, because as we go into these new ways of communication, those waves of scattering energies are no longer resourced. So I'm seeing this as a play on words. So basically, when we go in a higher frequency or we're in a higher dimension, those things don't exist there. Or better spoken, they don't have the same impact on us that maybe they once did. And I'm talking about 5G. We could talk about certain things that have been pumped into our bloodstream, our water, whatever it is. The guides, my higher self, me, keep saying that that was holding us back, but it no longer is. What's holding us back more is our belief that it's holding us back. So I'm also being called to do the due diligence for, while one might think the cards are stacked against them, the house of cards has fallen. Therefore, the scattered cards are trying to pick themselves up, yet they are flattened. And that's a play on words. It's like a flat sound. It doesn't hold a note. It doesn't hold a symphony. It doesn't hold a harmony. So these flat sounds that are a representation of everything, world leaders, technology maybe that's been used knowingly or unknowingly, nefariously. Is that right? For nefarious reasons. What I'm being shown is we're evolving, if we want to call it that. And so the more support that we give our bodies, and the more we can support everybody by being more fluid. So this has to do with letting go, letting ourselves grow, not holding each other back, not trying to compartmentalize or put someone else in a box. This has to do with over-identification. Not everything has to be the same. Not everyone is on the same track. What I've seen earlier with the knots, some people have knots in their system that they are working at unbinding themselves from, and other people really want to be naughty. They want to stay in that bound up space because it feels safer. It is not our responsibility to untie their knots unless they ask for it. It is not our responsibility what I'm being shown is, yes, we can help out a fellow human. And yes, there will come a time when we can do that if that's something that it presents itself. But ultimately, we have to focus on our own charge. And that keeps coming back to being in charge. I'm hearing Charles in charge. What's that TV show? My goodness. I'm seeing a reference to stepping up to the plate. And this has to do with platelets, by the way. It has to do with baseball, the game that we're playing, it's time to play. You can't sit if you're on the stand, side stands or stand, you know what I mean, baseball reference. And we each do that in our own way. It doesn't mean that everybody has to play first base. On a team, everybody has a different role. They're playing the same game, but they all have their own style that they bring to the table. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. So we'll end on this note. There are many different notes that we are being called to look at, that we are being called to write, that we are being called to listen to, that we are being called to give value to and exchange with. And while this is all a reference to the many different changes and exchanges that are happening within our composition and our, I'm hearing reality exposure, but that's a different play on words. Exposure has more to do with aperture. So we're being called to access these inner ports. So within our body are different ports of activity. And these ports are, I'm seeing like when you plug something in, they hold charge. They are also to be referred to like water. I'm seeing a port in a ship. And so the more we are giving ourselves the focus on creating abundance, and that doesn't have to do with money necessarily, it just has to do with bliss. And the more we send out these signals and exchange this energy with others, and I'm hearing stay in our lane. So part of this is I might be in a blissed out space and somebody else might be going through something really catastrophic in their lives. What I'm being called to share is being conscientious and aware of where each individual is. We're not all on the same boat. I mean, we are all in the same boat, but the ka and the ba, all that, but we are not necessarily navigating the same way. And so really honoring another person in their journey and recognizing that that is their choice to be in that space. We don't have to tell them, oh, you chose to go through this catastrophic event, because there may have been extenuating circumstances that seemed very out of their control. And that's not what we're not here necessarily to, what the word that's coming through is preach to others, or I feel great, everything's great. In reality, that suffering is only a choice, and you could choose not to suffer. All right, that's all fine and dandy for you and maybe for me, but that other individual doesn't see things that way, and their perspective may be completely different. So we're really being called to stay in our lane to a certain extent. That doesn't mean we're not able to help that person still, by being a shoulder to cry on, by holding space for them, by bringing them a gift, by just giving them a hug, by doing whatever we can as a human to support without dictating, I'm hearing, how their port should look or what should be of import to them, because their journey may be taking on a completely different direction than ours. And so we're really being called to come back to the essence of the golden rule. Do unto others. And recognizing when we're coming from a heart-centered awareness, we step away from ego. We can recognize when our ego is not necessarily in alignment with where it is that we wish to go. And even though our ego will still be on board, meaning it always comes with us to a certain extent as a human on this journey, it is not necessarily separate of us from one perspective. It certainly is not who we are. It is merely an aspect that we can utilize much as a personality. So we utilize our personality in order to express. We use our ego in order to kind of differentiate, what's safe and what's not safe, what resonates, what doesn't resonate. I mean, it isn't a bad, I'm just being shown that it's been misunderstood. But that isn't the only aspect of us. So let us get back on point. And point to the direction of the changes that are happening inside of our bodies, and recognize that the outflow that we are experiencing, I'm seeing a volcano right now, I'm seeing seismic activity, is allowing more inflow to come in. And people may be what we might refer to as word vomiting. They might be saying things that they don't necessarily understand. They might, maybe right now in this video, I'm just seeing like people are expressing themselves and they're saying things that aren't necessarily beneficial for other people in a positive way. And that just might be their way of getting out whatever it is that's been corroded on the inside. They're just like, I'm going to vomit all over you because I'm having a bad day. Part of being in charge, holding our charge, is recognizing when someone's going through something and recognizing that that vomit, that's not ours, right? Stay in our lane. But doesn't mean that we back off and say, oh, you're right. We just can calmly agree to disagree or let it go and not hang on to it, so to speak, and the golden rule. So it's a matter of going back into the body and feeling into what's happening here. And we can feel that oftentimes before we think it, or we can feel it after we've thought about it and feel into what the appropriate action to take would be versus what it seems like our brain is telling us, because we're being invited to recognize that our brain and how we think we should be doing something isn't just based on, it's based on a pattern of choices and memories and experiences that we're holding around us. And this is a play on words. I'm being shown that it's actually not inside of us, it's around us. It's like thoughts aren't necessarily just inside of our head. They're part of like a cloud, the cloud. That's a whole other video. And so we want to go back into the sensations in the body and become very aware of what's happening so that we can embody these changes, so that we can fully embrace these changes and witness that things are changing and they are starting with us. If we are always looking for a resource outside of us and we are never tuning into what's happening inside with the body, with sensations, with our feelings, with the changes that we're having in our thought patterns also, we are unable to harness the full effect of the energies that direct where it is we truly want to go, want to know, where it is that we are truly leading ourselves to. Are we leading ourselves to sustainability, compatibility, compassionability, compressibility? So this all has to do with electrical signaling, or are we leading ourselves into more chaos and more confusion? And we cannot necessarily interpret the information that's coming in the most appropriate way if we are not allowing ourselves day by day, every day, to look back inside and really connect with our insides. And again, this is a reflection. This is happening all around us. For our environment is a direct reflection of what's going on inside our internal environment. And so as we purge the chaos, as we merge these realities, as we become more, or we become more in tune with more, letting go of what it was that we thought was more. So I'm seeing like letting go of scarcity and recognizing, oh, I do have this opportunity. Oh, I do have that. It becomes our own inner resource. And so we share this because so many energies are coming in to be, I'm hearing capitalized on. This is a play on words, like capital I, capital like everything is in caps, like, wow, enhanced. Yet the chaos that seems to be unfolding all around us, this noise, blankets that sometimes. And our body is in a state of, from one perspective and a visualization, trying to reach that energy. And it seems to be unable to at times because it's so habitually used to tuning into the frequency of the chaos. And so we're really being called to listen to the call, to step up to the call, to listen to our inner call, and to create this deep inner connection with all of the frequency that can be utilized right now, that strengthens our composure, that strengthens our composition, our physical composition, our composition, what we write into our DNA, into our memories, what we write for our future, our children, grandchildren, and recognize that this is an orchestration of a, play it with this monochromatic scale, going from this to, I'm seeing a kaleidoscope of color, like, just went into so many different places. So I'm just going to kind of end on that note because I could keep going. I will share another video very soon. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching these videos. I appreciate everybody who shares these, shares the energy, because when we focus on these messages together, I mean, as a collective, and I'm not just talking about these messages that I'm sharing, so many people are sharing messages about our reality. And when we expand our imagination and we open energetically to this, it really does have a ripple effect and on how we interact with each other. And I'm just so grateful that I'm on this journey with everybody. In love and light. Namaste.